Hey guys, what's up? Bisectatron here from OneHive Gazette, here with the next video. This is a quick defensive video, applies to Town Hall 9s and Town Hall 10s, and possibly even Town Hall 11s as that shifts to a 3-star game. First though, OneHive Genesis just matched with the clan we're going against this weekend in CWL Premier, so you guys will see a ton of coverage of our debut, I guess you could call it, back into CWL, first round of the CWL Season 2 Premier League. So should be a lot of fun. I'm in the war myself. You guys will see a lot of coverage, so look forward to that over this weekend. But for now, let's talk defensive a little bit. Specifically in this video, we're focusing on the Wizard Tower and how it should be used, a few tricks for it. I have the base set up in a few different kind of mini parts of a base theoretically, and how it can be placed to really maximize the effectiveness of the Wizard Tower, because I think it's an underrated defense at Town Hall 9 and 10 for defending against the 3-star, specifically from the air. So one thing as we look at this first little segment over here, I want to talk a little bit about layers of defenses and how that relates to the Wizard Tower. Typically outside the base you have your mortars. They can be used to draw golems or defense targeting troops. If they're outside, you can kind of put them strategically to where you want to draw the golems to, and they're not really worth it to put inside the base because they're very ineffective in terms of the damage they do. Teslas, I think, are also good to put outside the base as long as they're covered by the kind of trash buildings around the outside, because they can throw the attacker off. If they're right in the middle of the base, sometimes what it does is they just get taken out along with everything else and they don't do much, but they can make more of an impact if they are a surprise on the outside of the base. So typically those are the two I like to put outside. Bomb towers and point defense in terms of archer towers, cannons, that's typically the first layer that's actually inside the walls. Bomb towers, don't put them too deep in your base. They're really not a good defense, to be honest, especially with the air meta we're seeing with LaLoon being so powerful. So that's the next layer. And then I think the Wizard Tower is a better fit for the next layer in. This is the second layer, usually about 3 or 4 tiles away from the outer wall. In this base, it's in its own compartment here, separated by walls, but that part's not important, especially for air. And I think this is a good setup for a few different reasons. First, in terms of queen walk, you don't want to have all your point defense on the outside here, because that makes it too easy for the queen to take that all out. You want to usually have an expo, an archer tower sometimes, but the expo is the best, that's at least 4 tiles away from the wall. So you can see 3 tiles of the cannon plus the 4th of the wall that's separating them there. That's 4 tiles away from the outer wall. And what that does is it makes it so the queen can't reach it. That is going to be important for anti-queen walk. So you want to have some point defense back here, but don't be afraid to put the rest of it on the touching the wall towards the outside. That's fine. And leave room for the Wizard Tower, because the Wizard Tower, in terms of statistics, it does about half as much damage as the archer towers. To give an example, at Town Hall 9, the Wizard Tower does 40 DPS, and then the max Town Hall 9 Archer Tower does 75. So it's a little more than half what the Archer Tower does, but all it takes is 2 balloons for it to target 2 balloons at once if they're close enough together to get your money's worth for the Wizard Tower. Then it's doing more than the Archer Tower. And the range can be, it has a limited range, but that doesn't mean you should put it on the outside of the base. That's not going to make that much of a difference. It actually works in the opposite way, because if you want to keep these away from air defenses so your stuff doesn't lock onto lava hounds, it's easier to put the archer towers towards the outside, because that way there's a better chance they'll be away from the air defense. It'll make it easier to build the base. If they're towards the middle, it's going to be hard to keep the air defenses away. But the Wizard Towers, with their limited range, you don't have to keep the air defense that far away and that awkward of locations, even if the Wizard Towers are in a central area, because their range is so limited. So that's another benefit. But basically, by having them, the main point, by having them in the second layer here, it allows the balloons to kind of clump up as they enter. Originally, the deployment is very spread out, but as they move defense to defense, they get clumped up, the wizard tower is going to get its money's worth for you. It's going to be targeting 3-4 balloons at once. That's going to make it more worthwhile than it being targeted directly by a group of 1 or 2 balloons where it can only do its damage to that specific amount of balloons. The archer tower does the same amount of damage no matter how many balloons are in its radius. It'll target 1 balloon at a time, whereas the wizard tower, assuming the balloons are close enough together, can do magnitudes of damage more than the archer tower if the situation's right. Then beyond that, we have the sweeper, which is a good idea to keep in the center of your base to help push stuff back. But let's take a look at some other setups here. One thing that's a great idea to do, this is the mortar funnel, you could call it, the mortar funnel for balloons. Just putting the mortar here is actually really effective because, let's say someone wants to deploy balloons along here, as they send a lava hound in, say there's an air defense, somewhere around this area, and they want to send the lava hound in there, then deploy the balloons on each of these 4 defenses. By putting the mortar here, it makes all the balloons that are either here or deployed over there, they all go to that mortar first. So it all gets them to clump up right in front of that wizard tower. That's a good 3 or 4 shots your wizard tower can get before it goes down. And that's going to be very effective because it naturally clumps up those balloons. Now the attacker, when you add in all the trash buildings around here, they can't really target the archer tower probably or the cannon. They're all going to clump up on that mortar. So that's a good thing to do. Very easy, doesn't really have any negative effects because the mortar doesn't do much anyway. The mortar is a good way to use to funnel things in front of the wizard tower. Same thing here with the Tesla. This is a surprise one. So people might deploy balloons on this side of the base thinking they can target each one, but boom, the Tesla pops up and they all go for that Tesla. Notice how it's placed. The wizard tower can reach it, so as soon as they clump up, the wizard tower is doing damage. But after they take out the Tesla, the next closest building, probably going to be that cannon. Might depend a little bit. They might get lucky. I think it might be able to go for that wizard tower, maybe even the archer tower, but most likely the closest building will be the cannon, especially if you move this over one like that. That'll make it even more so. But you want to keep it so all balloons are distracted by the Tesla as they're deployed. They will go here, probably here, then get to the wizard tower. That way they're going to clump up even more, and they can't plan for that Tesla like they can for the mortar. Now the Tesla is a bit of a more valuable defense than the mortar, so it's kind of sacrificing it in a sense because it'll go down pretty quickly. But the balloons have to hesitate, retarget, go for the Tesla. It can screw things up, especially on that first attack. So think about that along with the mortar to group up the balloons, especially if your wizard tower is on the outside of the base, like it is here. If it's right near this outer wall, you can't find a way to put it deeper in the base. A good way to kind of compensate is to use these defenses in front of it. Okay, one more setup I want to take a look at. This is not how you want to do it. You don't want multiple streams pathing into the wizard tower if you can help it. So a good way to switch this, instead of 2 cannons where they can each be targeted, then they each advance to the wizard tower from a different direction. If you put the cannon here and you switch it out with the DE storage, now if the attacker deploys balloons on these cannons, they're coming from the same direction at that wizard tower. So its damage will be concentrated on the entire group of balloons, most likely. You want to you can even move it like that or whatever. Not the best to have them touching, but the point is, the more you can make it like a path directly to the wizard tower, instead of multiple different ways they can approach it, the better it's going to be because it's going to concentrate those balloons in one path, and the splash damage is going to be more effective. And that can be extrapolated to your whole base, really. You don't want it to be a nice grid of defenses for the balloons to kind of zigzag through. You want it to be more of a straight line of defenses they have to go one by one to, because that's the most inefficient way for balloons to move through the base. So you can do that by making like a pathing like this. And now they really can't target they can't come at the wizard tower besides from this one cannon, which will give the wizard tower at least a few shots in there to take out the balloons as they clump up here. So just think about that instead of having it like this, how it was originally. That's not going to be as effective because the balloons can be deployed equally on both of these cannons and approach the wizard tower from separate sides. So these are kind of small things, I will say that, but they are effective if you total them up. The Wizard Tower is, in my opinion, underused and underappreciated in terms of what it does to defend air attacks, especially now at Town Hall 10. My Wizard Towers aren't even maxed. You can upgrade them once more. Level 9 Wizard Towers going to do a ton of damage for you and really help you defend the air meta at Town Hall 10 if they're used properly. So think about these tips. Hopefully it helps. I'll zoom out here so you can see the whole thing if you want. But thanks for watching. Like I said, probably have some live action attacks, recaps, all kinds of stuff. But CWL starts just tomorrow, so should be a ton of fun. Can't wait, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Thanks for watching this one. Bisectatron out.